What?
It's on the movie Iron Man.
What?
The movie.
They made it a movie? Hey everybody, today instead of talking about the complex distortion and harmonics of the 1970 song Iron Man, I'll be talking about the 2008 movie that has the same name. There's a lot of reasons that I love Iron Man. It kicked off the whole Marvel Cinematic Universe, reshaping blockbuster movies today and bringing us some of the best movies that have hit the box offices in the last 10 years. But today I want to talk about something else, something that is really core to storytelling and to the stories that we tell about ourselves, something that I think Iron Man actually does better than most movies I've ever seen: internal transformation. Now, there's a lot of movies from the late thousands that were a lot like Iron Man. They had a lot of the same features, the same high-grossing summer box office, but Iron Man is the only one that laid the foundation for the most successful movie franchise of all time. In fact, I still think the first Iron Man stands as one of the best movies the Marvel Cinematic Universe has ever created, and today I want to talk about why. Now, Tony Stark today is probably best known as the lovable rogue, but if you think back to 2008 and the movie Iron Man, even the way he's set up, he's kind of more of a villain than he is a hero.
What, you're not allowed to talk? Hey, Forrest.
We can talk, sir.
Oh, I see, so it's personal?
No, you intimidate them.
Good God, you're a woman. I couldn't have called that.
He's a billionaire arms dealer who doesn't seem to care about anyone. Basically, does what he wants, even if it hurts his friends or put other people's lives in danger. And Iron Man sets us up really well. In fact, I think if you were looking at it less through the lens of a summer blockbuster and more as a script, you might even go so far as to call the imagery in the movie heavy-handed. Let me see if I can explain what I mean. One of the first scenes in Iron Man, the inciting incident, is Tony Stark is riding in a Humvee. He's kind of joking around with the people there. He's selling some weapons when their convoy is attacked. And Tony Stark runs away and dives behind a rock, and then a bomb drops down and it pans in and it says Stark Industries. The bomb detonates and he gets taken to a cave, and he wakes up and discovers that a magnet has been placed in his chest. And the magnet is stopping shrapnel from traveling to his heart and killing him. Now, this is where the story starts to split. See, on the surface, Tony Stark is just a billionaire who was attacked and woke up in a cave and is just happy to be alive. And he's trying to figure out why he's there. And it turns out a local warlord has captured him because he wants Tony Stark to build him a weapon. Now, underneath the surface of those external details, there's a lot more going on. See, Tony Stark as a character is more of a villain than he is a hero. In fact, he's so indifferent that he doesn't really care how his actions impact other people. He keeps selling arms and doing nefarious things to make money that he doesn't need or want. And he gets to a point where those actions catch up to him. He's blown up by one of the bombs that he invented, created, and sold. And he ends up in a cave. And the cave is metaphorically as far away from his previous life as it could be. There's none of the wealth, riches, or success that he doesn't seem to care about that follow him to that cave. And he's stuck with himself and a magnet in his chest, a less than subtle example of what I think is the overall theme, the underlying current of Iron Man. Does Tony Stark have a heart? So on the surface, Iron Man is just about a guy building a suit to fight his way out of the cave. But internally, there's a lot more going on. In fact, it's interesting that the beginning, the first act of Iron Man, could in a sense be the whole movie. He's fought his way out of the cave back to the safety of his ordinary world. But while the external conflict has been handled for now, the internal conflict has actually just begun. Now, the internal and external conflict is actually the thing I think that makes Iron Man unique amongst its peers. It's the thing that I think makes it a great movie. In fact, I actually think it's the same thing that has something to teach us as well. See, there's plenty of great movies with amazing external conflict. The best fight scenes, the best explosions, but they're not very memorable. They don't stick with us because they don't represent anything internally. And then there's movies with great internal conflict that have the most personal things, the most things that are true to us, but they're just not very interesting because we live our lives. We don't need to see them directly reflected on the screen. Now, if you look at summer blockbusters, you're not going to see a whole lot of art movies that struggle with external conflict. And I think that's because as humans, we're wired to pay attention to the external conflict. It's easiest to remember or think of Iron Man as a movie of transformation, of Tony Stark, the human, becoming Iron Man, the superhero or icon. And we tend to focus on the external transformation, I think, even in our personal lives. When we think about our goals, we might think about losing weight, or we might think about running a marathon, or we might think about writing our book or starting a business. We focus on the external result that is actually dependent on an internal transformation. This is the reason why I think we relate with Tony Stark, the character, so much. See, Tony Stark at the end of the movie is still kind of a jerk. He's still arrogant, he's still intelligent, he still kind of blows people off, but we've watched him transform. We've, through his external actions, seen him prove to himself that he does have a heart. He does care about other people, and he's in fact willing to sacrifice himself for their well-being instead of using them for his own well-being. Now, I love this character because they actually show up in a lot of my favorite movies. They're the lovable rogue. The Han Solos of the world, or Rocket from Guardians of the Galaxy are a couple of my favorite examples. And they couldn't care less about anything. They're cool, they're slick, they always have a pithy one-liner or a biting comment. You wouldn't want to mess with them in a fight, and they almost always want something pretty materialistic. Now, on the surface, we might love them because of their devil-may-care attitude and their biting one-liners.
Can't get out that way.
Looks like you managed to cut off our only escape route.
Maybe you'd like it back in your cell, Your Highness.
I think the real reason we love them is because of their internal transformation. It's the fact that they always come back in the end. Han Solo returns to save Luke at the Death Star. Rocket returns because he loves and misses his family. And Tony Stark returns because he actually has a heart. Now, that's not to lose sight of just how important the external world is. I mean, this is a pretty easy point to make. If there was an Iron Man movie and Tony Stark never became Iron Man, I don't think any of us would be talking about it today, except as the greatest writing failure of all time. But I think that we all intrinsically know when it comes to our lives that if we could just snap our fingers and have whatever we wanted, it would be meaningless. It wouldn't be the same thing. You know, it's why winning the lottery isn't the same thing as starting a successful business. Because with one of those things, you worked for it. In fact, with one of those things, the external and the internal stories were probably united. If your whole entire life you've dreamed of writing a book, of going through the work of finding characters or doing research, and then tomorrow that book was in your lap with your name on it, you wouldn't have actually written it. It wasn't your goal at all. Stories are a microcosm of this idea because good stories combine external transformation with internal transformation. We don't just want a hero with a cape and a sword with their hair blowing in the wind. We want a hero who has gone through internal transformation. In fact, I actually think it's at the core of why we love stories and movies as much as we do. Because most of us don't need cliff notes on how to fight real dragons or how to duel with evil wizards or face aliens. But we all want something that hero has. And I think that something is internal transformation. Now, earlier in Iron Man, I said that the external and the internal worlds split. But at the end, they come together in what I think is the second most memorable ending to any superhero movie ever. When Tony Stark gets up on the podium and says,
I am Iron Man.
Now, the reason this moment is so powerful isn't just because it's funny, it isn't just because it's unexpected, it isn't just because it's on brand with the character of Tony Stark. It's the first moment when Tony Stark, the billionaire who doesn't seem to care about anybody, and Iron Man, the superhero who is fighting for everybody's rights, the internal world and the external world are united once more. The character arc of Iron Man doesn't just work for this movie. In fact, it actually laid the foundation for Tony Stark throughout the whole entire Marvel Cinematic Universe. And it creates, with the exact same dialogue, what is actually my favorite ending to any superhero movie ever. Not just because it wraps up the third phase of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but because it represents Tony Stark and it represents real internal change. Tony Stark goes from being a billionaire who can snap his fingers and get anything he wants to ultimately snapping his fingers because he already has everything that he needs. He's willing to sacrifice himself for the people that he loves. And we're willing to watch him do it and know that it's a real moment because we've experienced that internal transformation with him.
And I am Iron Man.
Thanks for watching. My name is Zach with The Hero's Journal. We created The Hero's Journal because while there's plenty of productivity tools designed to help you go through the process of external transformation, none of them were set up to help you really understand the story about yourself and how that external goal could help lead you to the real goal all of us want, internal transformation. It's got everything you need to discover the theme of your quest as well as to detail a specific quest, along with a lot of tools to help you out along the way. So if you want to learn more information about The Hero's Journal or take a look inside, you can visit theheroesjournal.co. We post videos every week talking about story theory, goal setting, and how stories play out in our personal lives, as well as some of our favorite fandoms. So if that's interesting to you or this video is helpful, hit subscribe, hit like, and we'll see you next week.